It's a good thing they made this a movie and not a TV show, because it probably would have been a waste of my time to watch the TV show this long. So, the Archies. Is this a nepotism movie that people just are gonna hate on because the characters? Do I hate on it because most of the characters have like a family connection to it? No. Honestly, to preface how I feel about this movie beforehand, it was I don't care. I know people are already hating on it because they're like, these actors have a chance because of their parents and everything, but I don't blame them for that. I think basically anybody that's worked that hard to get where they are, when you have children, you're obviously going to give them a push. Now, if you keep giving them a push when it doesn't work, especially when it comes to cinema, it usually doesn't pan out. And yeah, they get more chances than other people, but in cinema, usually they don't work out. We've had actors that were probably nepotism babies that they just couldn't act and people call them out for it and they keep getting chances, which sucks. But I think it also is part of the game of how this world also works. This movie, I think, was fair enough because you could tell this movie was made for the intent of these actors, younger actors like Suhana Khan, Kushi Kapoor, even though they're like, nepotistic babies, they're still actors, they're still people that probably still love the field because of their parents and they got a shot. Now, I'll just preface it with that. So, I don't care about this being too nepotistic because clearly this movie was made for these actors, so I don't blame them for that. Now, it's how they go on after this that matters. Let's start with the movie. I think the movie was pretty okay-ish bad. And why do I consider it more bad? Because this is, I think, a cartoon or comics that I personally grew up on. So some people might not feel about it the same way. I think Riverdale is a guilty pleasure show. It's melodramatic. It's so much drama. So if you're gonna like that, this show is kind of like that. This movie is kind of like that. The characters they do a pretty good job at establishing, but the problem is the story is what weighs this down. I could see certain aspects of the movie where you're watching it and it's like, okay, they have a plot point that's good. They basically want to save Green Park, a park in the town, and they do point out these are Anglo Indians, basically characters that are, they're gonna know more English, and because they have a British father and probably or a British mother and opposite, Indian father mother with them, they go with that aspect that they are like more they know more English. They're a whole different society, which I can respect. They did a good detail. They did make the characters do more of a. They do speak a lot of English in this movie. But my only problem with that is if this movie was the launch of certain actors, I don't think you would want to do that because you're already creating a distinction between them and how they've lived a different life compared to their parents and how most Indians or Desis live it already. So acting wise, I don't think nobody did a bad job. I don't think anybody does well. The specific actors that I do think did a good job were Vedang and Mihir, who basically played Reggie and Jughead. I think they did a pretty good performance. Who were surprisingly, their roles are not minimal, but the way they act and clearly, since they're not the main focuses, they do a really good job at portraying them. And I think a lot of people mentioned this in the review that these guys are probably the characters that you notice the most. Suhana and Kushi, they do a good job. They play Veronica and Betty pretty well, but there's nothing special. I think they should get another chance for doing more Bollywood movies, but we don't know. I don't know where I can see them going. So the problem with the story is, while I was watching it, it did feel like there were certain plot points that'd be probably like an episode plot point. Like, oh, this is happening in this episode, this is happening in this episode. So a lot of the musicals, if you enjoy musicals, you're gonna enjoy it. Otherwise, I'm not a big fan of musicals, so I didn't enjoy it as much. I'll admit the choreography, the outfits, they're all very nice. They're very well done. It's very nice, but I agree with some other people that I've watched reviews of, and basically they mention this movie feels very average. It feels like a normal story that anybody could have made up. AI probably could have made this up if they had the story of the Archies. I actually agree with a few YouTubers. I'll call them out because I actually watch them and I really enjoy them a lot. I tried to review pictures, Jamie Pants. He's one of the few reviewers I really enjoy watching. Sometimes we may not agree on certain reviews, but usually we do, and I agree with them. This movie was very lackluster for what it was. I don't kind of understand. It was nice to see all the actors come to watch this movie, but it was kind of weird to see them also come for this specific movie. I know it's like because children are like their children are in it, but it's like it wasn't that big of like an epic movie or anything. It was just a normal social cause movie. It has some good points, but at the end of the day, it doesn't stick the landing of being more than an average film. So I'm gonna be a little harsh and give this a 4 out of 10, just because it's a bit long. It felt very long. I'm not a musical person. If you're a musical person and you enjoy it, you'll probably go for it. But when I review movies, I also go for rewatchability, and this movie does not have any rewatchability for me at all. So I'm gonna stick with the 4 out of 10. It's very mediocre. It doesn't do anything special. I didn't care for it before. I don't care for it now. So the fact that it did that, it's not going to do anything for me. Tell me what you thought about this movie. Am I being a bit too harsh? Maybe it's just because I don't like musicals or like don't care for them. I'll agree it has some punch, but tell me if you thought it was better than average. If not, let's see what these actors do in the future.